California Governor Gavin Newsom is challenging Joe Rogan to have him as a guest on his podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience. It started, of course, when Rogan took shots at the governor, saying he hasn't done a good job running California and wouldn't make a very good president.
Which is kind of funny because he wants to be president so bad.
That's true what it looks like.
You can't ruin a city and then go on to ruin a state and say, guys, that was just practice.
I know.
Once I get it as a president, I'm going to fix it. Fix it all.
I mean, it's so crazy, but he's such a great politician. I mean,
No,
he's
not.
so smooth.
He's
not,
not,
you don't think so?
No, I think he's terrible.
How's he remained in power for so long?
Low competition. There's no one who's good is competing against him. There's no sincerity.
I should say he's not.
Those comments made their way to Newsom, who has been governor of California for 6 years. He responded by using the chicken emoji to say that Rogan is too chicken to have me on his show. That's a quote. And he went to list on his state's accomplishments, saying, quote, California is the 4th largest economy in the world, #1 in manufacturing, farming, and new business starts. #1 for tech and venture capital investments. #1 in public higher education. I could continue. Invite me on any time, Joe Rogan.
Some people felt Newsom's framing of those accomplishments was a bit dishonest. Kyle Welch, an associate professor at George Washington University, replied to Newsom's tweet saying, none of those California statistics are attributable to you. However, every single negative attribute of California has happened while you were governor.
Now, Rogan has not yet responded to Newsom's inquiry. Rogan lived in California for many years, but moved to Texas in 2020. He's gone on record saying that part of the reason he moved to the Lone Star State was because of its more lenient COVID restrictions as opposed to California.
Yeah, and that's the case against Gavin Newsom. And as we get farther and farther out from the pandemic, it fades from memory a little bit. But Joe Rogan has been very strong on what went wrong during the coronavirus response, which I mostly agree with. He left that state due to the lockdowns and mandates and on masks and vaccines and businesses staying closed, schools staying closed, driving people away. At the same time, Gavin Newsom forcing that on people. You know, he's hobnobbing at the French Laundry or whatever that restaurant was. So we have not forgotten. That said, it's Joe Rogan's show. Who am I to recommend who he should have on?
Recommend!
He can have
he could be watching you right now.
He can have on whoever he wants. It's his show.
Do you recommend he have Newsom?
Yeah, he should have Newsom on, yeah. If he wants to. I don't own the thing. It's his thing. He can do whatever he wants. But I would love to see an interview between him and Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom has done some interesting podcast things with Steve Bannon, with Charlie Kirk, before Charlie Kirk's horrible death. Gavin Newsom likes or seems to be enjoying or for narrow-minded political reasons, doing more conversations with people he disagrees with. He should do one with Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan can hit him with the reasons he thinks he's ruined the state. So
look,
I definitely watch that.
I like Joe Rogan. I think that when he's talked about multiple times why he left California. He didn't like plenty of things about California, which is why he left
Newsom things.
For Texas. I know I'm saying he's been very vocal about it. I don't know if he's attributed it to Newsom himself on his show. Now he's being pretty adamant and attributing them to Newsom. However, I do think that he complained about Kamala and all her stipulations to come on his show and making it inconvenient for him, which he was against. Seems like Newsom would, because he has an ideation in his head that he wants to become the president, he would make his way down to Texas and make it easy for Joe Rogan to say yes.
Well, I'll give you some credit on this.
So,
he understands how important this is. Kamala Harris did not.
And he's also in the arena, right? If you have policies that you would like to defend, which is going to be part of your job if you ever want to be president, you can have a conversation with Joe Rogan and possibly, just like he went from Bernie Sanders supporting to Trump supporting, sway him to say, I was wrong about you, or I learned something about you. Go ahead and defend your policies and go up there. Now, maybe with COVID, because I know Joe Rogan was pretty annoyed with that, it's not going to happen. But there are a slew of other things that maybe he has on the agenda for America that he could in the future and has done in the past that he can tell Joe Rogan. I think that it would be interesting to watch them communicate. That dialogue is probably necessary. And Joe Rogan, whether he wants to or not, has inserted himself as somebody who's very influential in the political arena, specifically around presidential and federal elections. And so that, to me, is a good, not because it helps Newsom in any way, it could hurt him. But having that conversation would be essential, I think, for somebody who's involved in the way that he was in the last election, Joe Rogan, and the way that Newsom will be in this upcoming election.
Yeah, and sometimes they're, frankly, are more interesting, the interviews where they disagree more, where there's some tension. Joe Rogan, I remember when he had on, what is his name from CNN, former Surgeon General, Sanjay
Oh,
Gupta.
Sanjay Gupta. Yes.
To talk about
COVID.
ivermectin and the claims that had been made on CNN about what Joe Rogan was saying, and they had and then Sanjay Gupta did say, okay, people went too far when they said you were encouraging people to poison themselves. It's not poison. It is a medicine. It's prescribed to people as well as animals. We're just saying that we don't think the evidence is that it's going to help with COVID, but we're not saying it's harmful for you. So it was an interesting conversation,
Right.
That was, I think, beneficial from two people on many sides of that whole issue. So I would love to see more of that, and I think it would be a good one. But he doesn't have to do it. It's his show. We get to decide the guests on our show, and he gets to decide the guests on his show, and he's not required to do it.
He isn't, but I mean, as he thinks about, you always say Joe Rogan is an independent thinker, right? He's never signed up like, oh, this is a political show. He dives into a lot of issues from aliens to politics and to everything in between. And I think that if he wants to continue to look like he is not having any type of bias or affinity to any party, because he literally just the average American that makes a choice and hopefully doesn't just go down ballot based on a party, but also goes about issues that they care about, it would be ideal in both situations to have him on, because Newsom could go on there and, have the personality of a lifetime as well as policies to match it, or go on there and make a fool of himself. But either way, he's giving him the opportunity to walk himself into either situation, and that won't be up to Joe Rogan. It'll be just up to him to talk. Like, the onus is not on Joe Rogan. He's the interviewer. He can be quiet the whole time. Newsom has to convince people that he has a good plan and policy, and also can keep them jokes coming about the taco. And I think it's going to be a great 40 million views.
Are you going to do your laugh?
No, I'm just going to do a
Taco.
slight, because he called him
Taco.
chicken. No, it's not funny unless.
Taco.
You guys,
Taco.
the funny part about it was the fact of how mad the president got when he was sitting in the office
He's
and
not mad.
he yelled at the reporter and said, "You're nasty."
I'm not
that
mad.
question
I'm
is
not
not.
mad.
No,
I say as I shrink into a corn cob.
He got very upset, and so that's why I was like, that is the straw that broke Gamel's back for the president out of all things. People have called him so many things that I've said, oh, that's too far, let's not use that language. But taco was the one that got him riled up in that way that he's yelling at the reporter. Come on now. That's a little fragile of the ego for me. So that's what tickled me about it.
All right, I literally can't talk about this again. So let's move on. We have a lot more to talk about on Rising. Stay with us.